The name Zach's Place comes from the story of Zacchaeus, where Jesus deliberately choosing to go to the margins of society and keep company with outcasts. The concept of ragamuffin is a mixture. It comes from the first beatitude of Jesus encouraging us to be blessed with the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And for me, that ragamuffin nature is very much the start of our spiritual journey with Christ. I started to realise there was a need for something a little different to what seemed to be available. A large proportion of friends within the biking community actually here in Swansea after I moved here were saying, we've got a lot of questions, we want to sit down and talk, but there's no way we're going anywhere near a church. How can we do this? So it really was out of frustration, but also as a response to people's genuine questions that we were listening to. I've always shied away from wanting to set up exclusively a bikers church or a church for recovering alcoholics, or such a narrow focus. I firmly believe in mixing everybody up. I think people learn best in peer groups, but mixing everybody up brings such a wonderful flavour to the community.
Zach's Place has personally helped me to find my way in my faith and my belief. And through Sean's ministry was able to find peace, and also were able to move on from the past.
You get your peace. You're allowed to be you. Warts and all, open wounds, closed wounds. They don't expect any form of conformity. And you're allowed just to be yourself.
I think it's an important milestone when you realise that people are voluntarily coming to gather, not just to receive some food or some clothes, but they're voluntarily gathering to share stories with one another. They're also voluntarily gathering around an open Bible to learn, and there's a desire to learn. They look forward to that opportunity when someone's going to say a prayer. They participate in that. They look forward to taking part in the sacraments of communion, and we've been able to baptise people as well. Those are significant milestones in the process when you realise actually we've got something here.
Zach's is about real people. There's real problems. The place is full of imperfect people, which makes it a perfect place for them to come.
Building disciples is an unbelievably messy process, and I think it was messy for Jesus, and it continues to be so for us. We unashamedly focus a lot of attention to studying the Bible together. We call it our tribal gathering. We attract all sorts.
Yes.
We do some good old-fashioned Bible study, top and tailed with a prayer. There's often arguments, raw emotions. It's unpredictable. Anybody can fall through the door. And on this particular occasion, somebody did fall through the door. And she was effing and blinding and being foul-mouthed. It's someone who's known very dear to us, someone that's sleeping rough within the community with addiction issues. She'd had a bad day in court. Someone had stolen her phone. Someone had thrown water over her to wake her up that morning. Without any prior warning, one of my dear colleagues just disappeared from the room, but he went to get a bowl of water, and he came back in and he knelt at this young woman's feet and he offered to bathe her feet, which he did. She agreed. And that was no easy offer to make. And as he bathed her feet, I've never seen someone's demeanour change so quickly. She'd gone from singing foul-mouthed, abusive songs to just sitting back in her chair, relaxing and singing, "Jesus loves me, this I know." And you could have heard a pin drop. She left our gathering that night with her arms around two friends, singing "Jesus loves me, this I know" down the street. 8 days later, the newspaper headlines read, "Woman found dead outside the station." And this was our friend, and very much part of our community here, and she'd overdosed. And as I spoke with her family to make the funeral arrangements, her father requested that we sing "Jesus loves me, this I know." And I said, "Oh, you heard about what happened?" And he said, no, not at all. And the reason he wanted us to sing that was because that's the song he sang her to sleep to as a child. And it just staggered me that despite all her trauma and heartache, she'd carried those words with her whole life. And she'd found a tiny bit of refuge, a tiny place of hope where she felt she could express those words, and she carried those words to her grave. Somebody did comment about the Bible study that night because it was so chaotic. Well, we didn't get very far tonight, did we? And then somebody else commented, well, actually, I think we got to heaven. The transition from just meeting as a, if you like, a mission gathering to attract people into our environment to becoming a church, it's actually difficult to know where that transition takes place. I can't pinpoint a time when Zach's Place Church in a pub, ? Lost its question mark. But I know as I look back, at some stage the community of faith that has become Zach's Place has developed and matured and grown into something that functions as a loving and caring community that wants to serve and follow Jesus. I don't think that was an overnight thing, but the whole process of wanting to serve people on the margins, wanting to journey together, wanting to be honest and real with each other, that has produced that kind of bond and that sort of community together.